We got our recording going. All right, guys. I had an interesting little trip last night. I went down to San Diego for an SEO meetup, and interesting stuff. It's like a whole new culture of SEO going on, and a lot of young guys. It was funny to hear them like boasting and bragging about how they'd been into this for 5 years. I got a real kick out of that. But it's really interesting the way it's all turned and twisted, and they're finally figuring out that it's all about the user experience, and the conversion really is the most important thing. And you know, I went down there. I normally don't go to those. I don't go to a lot of those type of things anymore. But for some reason, I was sitting here getting this feeling that, you know, somehow maybe I've slipped and gotten behind or something. So I just figured, okay, well, let me just go and see what these guys are talking about, see what they're up to. And it really made me feel good to know how far ahead of them I actually was, and they still haven't caught up yet. So pretty funny. The only guy that I've seen recently talk about SEO is, I forget his last name. His first name's Will, and he's from a company that does commercial SEO. And I saw one of his videos where he was speaking on stage talking about keyword research. And it was fascinating to see the case studies that they had done with their clients based on not only keyword research, but actually changing up their websites to match. And, you know, I mean, what's that remind you of? That comes full circle right back to ACT is, yeah, Will Reynolds. That's right, Ted. And anyway, you know, it comes full circle back to ACT of knowing what your customer, what your ideal client is actually feeling and wanting and needing. And, you know, one of the things that they did with some of their commercial clients is they downloaded a bunch of FAQs, and they also downloaded a bunch of reviews. And they separated the reviews into the good and to the bad. And then they ran them into a tool that was similar to the old style keyword density tools to see what words were common across all of the different both testimonials and reviews, and both on the good and the bad, and they separated them out. So basically they had a keyword density report on the bad reviews, and they also had a keyword density report on the good reviews. And what this allowed them to do was it allowed them to see what words were being repeated over and over and over. And for those of you that, you know, have done research on your avatars, you see the value in that, of seeing across a broad audience, these are actually their customers, and seeing what words show up naturally. So that tells you what's important to them. Like, for instance, on their website, one of them was, it had to do with hospitality. And, you know, there were certain words on their website that they believed to be the right words, but when they saw them in the reviews, you know, in the positive reviews and the testimonials, they saw that other words were showing up. And what they did when they took those words and replaced those words out with the words they thought that was the right languaging, everything went up. Their time on site went up, their conversions went up, their calls through from the website went up, and they got a huge bang for the buck for their customer by doing that. So I thought that was really interesting. You know, that comes back to what you might be able to do if you're doing research on an avatar to figure out more of that languaging and see what's important to them. You could basically do that same type of thing on your competitors. So you could download all the reviews and all the testimonials from your competitors and do that same sort of analysis and see what's important to them. That might be a really interesting angle, because they showed 3 or 4 different case studies on when they had done that. And really all they were doing, they just were changing up the languaging to match what the avatars liked in those testimonials and those positive reviews. They also looked at the negative reviews, and they did the same thing. They did almost like a keyword density on the negative reviews, and they saw what words kept coming up that were in the negative category. So basically what that did is that let them know the emotion of those ideal customers that weren't happy. It also lets you know the languaging, and potentially what that would do is that would tell you potentially again what their objections might be or what their issues were with the service. So from a customer service standpoint and a conversion standpoint, that would be incredibly important information to understand that. So that's a really cool little trick that I saw that I really liked of what they were doing. And again, it comes back to really understanding. Almost you could fit that into the empathy grid. When you're creating your avatar, we've got a thing called the empathy grid, so you can know what they're hearing, what they're seeing, what they're feeling. And this is based on them actually speaking up, unbiased, unsolicited. It's a really cool insight. And if you don't have customers yet, let's say you're just getting started, all you'd have to do really is identify one of your competitors that's got a head start on you and go and look at theirs. You could also go to sites out on the internet. There's a lot of sites that have to do with Q&As. There's questions and answers, and understanding what they're actually, their language, because they're typing it in. This is actually your users that are typing this stuff in. They're giving the testimonials, they're giving the reviews, all that. So it really is in their voice. So that's pretty cool. When you can hear the voice of your customers, the voice of your segment of your market, that's really powerful, because like with NLP, you mirror and match. So if they speak a different way, and a lot of times, this is really incredibly hard stuff. It's really difficult to research this stuff because there's no databases. There's no places online where you can go and just ask these questions and have the answers. So the answers lie in looking at their conversations. And if you can, find a website that has a lot of that has people putting testimonials and reviews and all that stuff, that could be a treasure trove of information for you. So really, really good insight into how you need to language on your website and in your ads and all of that stuff to get the best conversions. Because that's, that is truly the best peek under the hood that I've seen yet, and how, and understanding how your ideal customer thinks and what they feel. Because we talk about that a lot in the ACT program when we're getting in the analysis. We need to understand it, but I've never seen such a good way to really get that, especially in their words. So a couple of you just hopped on here. So what we're basically talking about is inside information on how your avatars are thinking. So if you don't have your site up yet, or if you're just starting in business, this is really difficult stuff because there's no place on the internet to go and find this. A lot of the information you can get from competitor research, but I'm talking about actually from your ideal customers. So if you go to the competitors that have, they've got a head start on you, they're already dealing with these customers. And what you do is you download their testimonials and their reviews, and then you compile that, and you can basically, paste it into one big document or merge it all together. So let's say you've got 100 reviews. And the one thing you want to do is you want to separate the good reviews from the bad reviews so you don't mix them. And let's say you've got one document that's got all of your positive reviews, and then you run a a word check on that, and it's kind of like the old-fashioned keyword density. And this was used a lot in SEO way back when, when content was king. You wanted to know how many times your keyword showed up per 100. It was a percentage. So that's what you kind of want to do, so you can see what words and what phrases are showing up regularly in their language patterns. Because remember, this is your ideal customer actually putting this information in, so it's in their voice. They're typing it. There's no better insight that I know of than when it comes from their voice. And when it comes to mirroring and matching, that's what you want. You want to mirror and match them. So really, it's really powerful, to know that. And then I've seen some case studies now of companies that have done this, and they did a lot of really high quality research, market research, for coming out with new products and services, and this is the way they did it. And what they found was when they changed the languaging on their websites to match the language of their customers, everything improved dramatically. Click-through ratios, because it's on the ads, it's on the upfront stuff. You're really resonating with them right from first sight. So your click-throughs come up, your bounce rate goes down. All of the signals, all the positive signals that Google is looking for are magnified by using this type of a technique. And really all you're doing is you're just getting really in tune with who your ideal customer is. It's like the ultimate customer service, and you're showing them this right up front. So it's really good stuff. Anyway, if you guys have questions about that, feel free to hop out. You can unmute yourself, or if you don't have a microphone, you can go ahead and type in the chat box over on the side, and I can address any questions as they arise. But I wanted to throw this out because it's not very often I see something new that really gets me excited, and this is like, it's so in tune with what we're doing, and how to match your avatar's language patterns. Really, really powerful stuff. And seeing the results, seeing the charts and graphs that were presented last night was really, really impactful. I was like set back. I'm like, wow, that's really cool stuff. So, all right, come on out, guys. Tell me where you're at, where I can assist, what you need help with. Who's going to go first? Nobody? All right, well, I'll just keep on rambling then. So the other thing about, I started in on keyword research there. Understanding, if you get a good understanding of this language pattern, by looking at reviews and testimonials that ideal customers, whether they're from your site or from a competitor's site, the other side of the coin on the insight that you get from that is what's important to them, and that can allude to search phrases. That can tell you what they're interested in and what they might be searching for. And in some cases, it's going to be very different from what you thought. And it would be very different than the results that would come back from a traditional keyword research project. Because traditionally in keyword research, what we're doing is we're asking Google, and Google doesn't always know. What Google will show you is what it feels is relevant based on a keyword that you put in. It'll give you, relevant matches and all that. But if your customers speak a different language, Google's really good, but they haven't got it all down yet. They haven't figured out all these language patterns to all these avatars and stuff. So that's something that you may get a lot of insight from, is what they're actually saying and what they're speaking and what's important to them. The other thing that you will find in this process is they're asking questions. When most people do keyword research, they're doing research on just keywords that they feel are important to their avatar. And what you'll find is those avatars have a different idea what's important to them. And a lot of times it will come in the way of a question. And if you want a really good SEO concept and strategy, it's answer the questions that your avatar has. You know, take your ideal client and solve their problems. And they're going to tell you what their problems are by their questions. You know, if they don't know something, that's a problem for them. So if you can be the one there with the solution and the answer, you're going to get the first shot at building trust and rapport with them. You're going to get the first shot at putting them into your funnel versus someone else's funnel. When they're in your funnel, you get the first shot to educate them. You get the first shot to build demand and desire. You get the first shot to set buying criteria. It gives you a huge advantage by getting this first place role and getting this first shot at them. Because people, once they find something they like, they usually stop looking in a lot of cases. If they truly feel they've found the right match for them, they stop looking. They continue on. They don't want a lot of people, you know, it's like in the tech world, what would you prefer? Would you rather have 10 different tech guys, one for each little thing, and you have to remember who's for who, or do you want one guy that's your answer guy? You can go to that one guy and he can fix it all for you. That's typically what people like. So, you know, Ted just put in the chat box there about Quora, good for Q&A stuff. So a lot of times, you know, you'll want to go out and you'll want to look and see what your avatar is asking. You know, a lot of times they do it on Google, but a lot of times they'll go to these Q&A sites. And Quora, that's what Ted just put in. That, you know, that's one of these. He put another one, WikiHow. So that's some of the sites you can go and you can look at and see what types of questions are being asked. So for SEO, bringing it back to SEO, if you can create the content that matches an exact question, most people are not doing this. So if you look at your competitors, most of them are not doing this. So if you're the one that does that, Google is going to recognize and reward that. So you might get some top listings for keywords that no one else is looking at, no one else is trying to rank for, nobody else is concerned with, because they're greedy. You know, they want the exact match keywords. And what we know is exact match keywords that are generic do not convert. So let your competitors fight for those. Let them go for those. Focus on the keywords that matter to your avatar and no one's paying attention. You can literally steal the keys to the kingdom by doing that. But to understand that, you've got to understand what questions they're asking. So go to those sites like Quora and WikiHow and you know, any of the Q&A sites. You can Google Q&A sites and then put plus in the keyword for your particular industry, and you might have specific industry sites that are dealing with Q&A for your customers. So find out, you know, read through those and find out what's important, what questions are being asked over and over and over. And the only place they're being answered is on these Q&A sites. So build that content into your site because you know it's important to your customers. If you cater to your customers, they're going to bond, they're going to build trust and rapport, and you're going to be the one that converts. You're going to be the one that they trust and they want to work with. So that's, you know, from a keyword research standpoint, that could almost be as or more powerful than the traditional keyword research these days. And again, tying it to the strategy of content creation. You know, one of the things that I taught early on in the ACT program was using BuzzSumo. And what BuzzSumo is, it's a similar technique, but it's not, I don't believe it's quite as good as the whole Q&A thing and looking at testimonials and looking at, you know, the reviews. That's really powerful. That's a really cool thing. And so anyway, going back to that, I would say that content creation piece around building those content pieces on your website. And even if there's low search volume for them. I talked to one of the guys that has been in the Dominator Club for years. I mean, he was one of the first ones that got in. Hadn't talked to him for several years, and I talked to him yesterday, and he does a thing where he teaches street fighting, believe it or not. People that want to learn, and really the underlying thing of what they really want is they want to be protected from bullies. They've got bullies that are, basically dominating them and manipulating them, and they're tired of it, and they want to know how to deal with it. And that's what he teaches. He teaches ways to, stand up for yourself and all that. And we basically did a look through his keywords, and we also did a look through his ranking. We put it into SEMrush, and I did one of those things on here for Russell probably a month or so ago, and I showed you how I use SEMrush to download all the ranking keywords, and then I sort them and color code them so all of the cream rises to the top. And we did that for Travis yesterday, and it was amazing. He learned a lot about what's important to his customers. There was a couple of things that he does that he has content for, and it was like that particular page ranked for a boatload of different keywords that he wasn't even aware of. He didn't even know his customers were interested in that. And worse yet, here he's got all these keywords that are ranking for this particular page, and traffic is going to this page, and it's getting a stellar user experience. But we looked at the page, and guess what? It was just an article. There was no call to action. It was a dead end. So here he was completely wasting all that valuable traffic. And all he's got to do now is he's just got to go in and he's just got to tweak that page. And I told him, I go, here's the deal. When you guys create content for your site, when you create content for anything, it should be related to your marketing. Everything you do should be market oriented. So if you're just out there, this just kills me when I hear this and I see this. People talk about blogs and blogging. They say, I'm blogging every day. And I'm like, well, really? What are you blogging about? And they're just blogging about anything. And I'm like, what's the purpose of that? You should have a purpose. If you're doing legwork in your business, everything you're doing should be attached to a strategy. If you want to write about stuff, this is a great strategy, figuring out what's important to your customers and answering their questions and creating content around that. That's a great thing to do. If you're doing that every day, I say more power to you. But if you're just blogging about stuff that doesn't matter, or it's irrelevant, or there's no tie-in, there's no marketing connect, then I believe you're probably spinning your wheels. And you may be causing more harm than good, because if you're creating stuff like that, and it's almost like when they get to your site they find something else, that's almost like a bait and switch. Actually, it is a bait and switch. It's not almost like a bait and switch. It could be a bait and switch. And what that will do, it'll cause a high bounce rate. The other thing it'll do is it'll lower your user experience, and that can hurt your site-wide. When your stats go down, that hurts site-wide. It's not just on the page that it's for. And if you've got hundreds of those type of pages and they're all pulling your main site down, it can really hurt your overall organic rankings across the board. So you want to be very careful of that. A couple of the top guys, in internet marketing have done some studies on this, and they actually got a boost in their site rankings by removing old, outdated, unrelated content. Some of them had changed their business direction. They still had all the old stuff behind the scenes, and it was actually hurting them. So by removing that stuff, tightening up their site structure, tightening up their navigation, and all that, they actually got a big bump in not only conversion, but also in overall ranking.
So John,
go ahead.
If you're doing blogs, but they're just on your website, does that hurt your ranking if nobody's going to them? Like, how do people even find blogs?
Well, a blog is all a blog is it's just a piece of content on your website, and it should be linked.
The
So
swings, slides, the bars.
Yeah, but that kid was really.
we're gonna mute Gwen out there. So anyway, a blog is just content. It's just a content page. The way it started out, it was almost like a diary. Somebody could just strew their thought process, and if you had a crowd of people that were interested in that, you were like an authority, and they really wanted to know what you were doing, like every minute of the day. That's what it started out as, and they got really popular because a couple of people were really successful with it. But the truth and the reality of it, it doesn't work for most people unless you had a huge tribe that was really connected to you and they really wanted to know what you were eating for breakfast, and that really turned them on. It doesn't work for most of us. I don't think anybody would care what I was eating for breakfast.
I'm glad that we found it this time.
So is it good to blog or bad to blog?
What's that?
So is it good to blog or bad to blog? Like, is it helpful?
If you are blogging to create content that is relevant, I think it's good to blog. And again, blogging is just creating content. So I've hated that thing right from the beginning, the whole word blog.
Yeah, it's confused me.
Yeah, it confuses a lot of people. And a lot of people get the idea that they have to have a blog and they have to blog, and that's nonsense. Google does not know it's a blog. All Google looks at is pages. It can follow a link, it can follow URLs, and it indexes content. It doesn't know if you're a blog or a regular page, and quite honestly, there really isn't any difference.
Okay.
It's content on a website. URL is really all it is. You can call it whatever you want, but if you're creating content, so whether we're calling it a blog or a web page or whatever, if you're creating content, for anything, it should be related to your marketing. There should be a reason behind why you're creating it. So if you're answering questions, basically you're interacting with people at the very lowest level. Because if somebody is interested in anything that you're doing and you're related to your business, and they're answering questions, those are newbies. Those are great people to bring into your tribe. If you want to do client acquisition, it's much easier to acquire a customer at the newbie level when you're the one answering their questions versus, going into a high end where they've already got a lot of experience and you're going to have to do a lot of convincing of why you're the one for them. So it's a great client acquisition landscape to work in.
So every blog has a call to action at the end of it. If you want to work with me more.
Yes, and the call to action does not have to be it doesn't have to be a call for a sale or a call to opt-in. The call to action might be, if this was really interesting to you and you feel people in your life would benefit from this, can you share it? That would really help me out. And basically that's like a give and take thing. You're asking for something, but there's really minimal cost to them. So I had this conversation like 3 times in the last 2 days of whatever your call to action is, there's a cost and a value to everything. So, whether it be you're asking for them to click the share button, or you're asking them to opt in, or you're asking them to place an order, everything that we're asking for is a sale. And like I said, there's a cost and there's a value to all of that. So you're really just putting it up front. Like if you share a great article, you can just ask them, hey, if you guys got great value from this, could you do me a favor? Because I did this for free. I'm putting it out there. I'm trying to help you. And when you do that, a lot of times people will ask you, hey, what can I do for you? I really appreciate you helping me and answering my questions. Is there anything I can do for you? I hear that a lot. You know, people ask me that naturally. So again, I'm listening to my ideal customers, my avatars, and when they do that, that tells me that they're willing to do something for me. So all I have to do is ask for something that really doesn't cost them anything. I say, hey, if this is great value to you, could you just share it? You know, that would really help me. And if you're providing, you know, good value, like I do in a lot of different forums, they will be happy to share your information. And that can help you tremendously, because when they share it, that goes out to their entire audience. And then their audience gets, you know, introduced to you. And then guess what? They might have 50 people that, you know, that your information just got shared to. And not everyone's going to look at it, but some people say, oh, that looks interesting, and they'll go in, they'll get introduced to you. You provide them good content, and again, the process automatically repeats. When it gets down to the end, you're asking them now, hey, I provided great value for you. It was great to meet you. Would you mind sharing this for me? Same thing. And now they share it out to their audience. Did you guys see that? I think it was a Prel commercial probably in the 80s, where they said, and they tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends. And the screen just, within a few steps, it exploded with thousands of people sharing the Prel shampoo. Remember that commercial? That's the same concept here. You know, if you can get them to share, and let's say they've only got 50 people, but you only get 2. And then same thing, and they bring 2, and they bring 2. It'll be the same thing. You'll have the Prel commercial working in your business. So that's the power of the share. That's a really easy thing to ask for. That's a really easy call to action. And guess what? Every time you do that, when you ask for something and they do it, that's like a yes. So when you get to the point where you've educated them and now you're going to ask them for the order, you're going to ask them for the sale, they're already going to be in the yes mode. So you're going to get a much higher percentage of conversion. So it's a really, really great thing to do. So, you know, tying that question back to the whole blogging thing and the creating of content, whenever you create content, just make sure it's relevant to your audience, it provides a great value, and it's what they're interested in. You know, whether you're using BuzzSumo to figure it out, or, you know, you might be looking at the wikis, or you might be looking at their reviews and their testimonials. However you figure it out, make sure it's the information they actually want. So Mary Sue, go ahead. Do you have a question?
Yeah, John. So I'm thinking if you have articles and you post them on your website, is there any value of having a separate blog site and posting them there? Or
Okay, a lot of people do that. A lot of people will go over to WordPress. I think it's WordPress.org or WordPress.net, and they set up a separate blog. Now, there's a couple of reasons that might be good, and there's a couple of reasons that might be bad. The reasons that it would be bad is, in SEO, the more traffic you drive to your own domain, the more authority it's going to get. So when you host your content on someone else's site, you lose that for your own SEO juice and benefit. Yeah. Where it's good is if you want multiple listings. Like, let's say you've got content for a particular keyword. Let's say you figured out, hey, this is a question everybody's asking, so I want to dominate the space. I want to create the answer to this, and I want to spread it across 10 different sites so I can take the number 1 through the number 10 spot in the search engines. That's where it would be a really good thing. And in that case, you would want to go to high authority sites to create domains or URLs on those high quality sites. Like YouTube is a great example. A lot of people will make YouTube videos keyword specific so they can get the YouTube listing in Google. So not only do they have their website there, they've got their YouTube video there. That takes up 2 spots. So the more spots you take, the more chances you're going to get clicked through to get to your content versus the other competitors on the page. So there's not really a true yes or no answer to that. It's just, it's based on your strategy. If you're trying to get multiple listings, it's a great strategy. If you're trying to get more SEO value to your own site, it might not be the best strategy.
So if you're looking for customers, then keeping it on your own site might be the best thing to do.
Yes, yeah, because if you're looking for organic search results and you're looking for maximum impact and bang for your buck in the SEO realm, getting organic traffic to your site, then if all roads lead to your website, that tells Google, hey, this site's important for this content. We should value it. We want to show it more often versus less often. If you've got your content spread across 10 different sites, Google might get confused on which one is which and where to actually add the value, which one has the most juice.
But if you, are you posting, is it okay to post the same articles on the other site, thinking that maybe they will get different traffic?
Yeah, you can absolutely do that. There's been a lot of controversy about the whole duplicate content thing, but where you get into problems with duplicate content, and I never saw duplicate content actually be a problem. A lot of people said it was. There was a lot of mumbo jumbo about that, a lot of controversy. But what Google is going to do, if Google sees the same content, like let's say you've got duplicate pages on your own site for landing pages or for whatever reason, all Google is going to do is they're going to figure out which one of those is the most relevant, and that's the one they're going to rank, and then they're just going to ignore the rest. They're not going to penalize you for having them, but they're going to ignore them. They're not going to put them at the top. If your content is spread across 10 different sites, that's a different story. They see the same content on multiple sites. They will definitely, go ahead and they'll value those other sites. So you might get your same content up, especially if it's in multiple different formats, like YouTube video. You've got podcasts. Google, that's the same content, but it's in different formats. You might put it in a graphic. You can make an infographic. That's why those were really popular. Infographics, videos, podcasts. You could put in a PDF. There's a bunch of different content that you could rank for the same keyword and get multiple sites without Google looking at it and say, well, that's exactly the same thing, because they'd have no idea it was the same.
So if you have your customers or anybody that is interested just link to the articles, that may be a better option than, say, creating a blog. I mean, it's a way of getting things out there.
Yeah, and Chris is asking the question that's very similar to that here about Facebook and the juice coming over from Facebook. Whenever you're creating content on another site like Facebook, your main goal there in your marketing should be to get them to click through to your main site. Because when a site like Facebook, that's a high authority site. YouTube's the same thing. It's high authority sites. When those sites link through to your site, they pass a lot of link juice, especially if people click the links. This is a big thing, and again, this is related to SEO, link building. If you're building a lot of links on irrelevant sites and no one's clicking on them, Google knows that. If you're building links on relevant sites, people are clicking through and getting a quality user experience, Google knows that. They see that. And if they see content on other sites leading back to you as the authority and people actually clicking that, coming to your site and spending more time, there's not a much better signal that you could possibly build than that. So putting really good teasers out, like on Facebook and social media, and then ending it, because you don't want to put all your content there. You want to put a really great teaser, end it at a cliffhanger, and say, for the rest of the article or for part 2, we've got part 2 posted on our site. Here's a link to it. So now you've built a really good quality link that someone is going to follow through. That also the same concept, same strategy for any link building. When you're building links, you're doing link building campaign, and you're doing outreach, let's say. Outreach is probably one of the most powerful link building concepts on the planet right now. And in short, just kind of as a summary of what that means, is you're creating a really good piece of content that your audience is interested in. You're reaching out to other webmasters that have similar audiences, and you're offering to give them the content that would be really good for their viewers, and all you're getting in return is a link back to your site. And the way you want to build that content, remember I said everything is marketing. Every piece of content you build should be marketing related, market oriented. So again, you deliver the content, and then at the end of the content, you want to put the same thing, for more on this, or for, you might want to reference a chart, or you might want to reference another piece of content that goes in conjunction with it, that they almost need that to put the whole puzzle together. And then you offer that through the link, bringing them back over to your site. And then when they get there, you might get them to opt in, or you might put retargeting on there. Because if you're doing outreach, obviously you can't put retargeting on someone else's site. But if you get them to click through, you can get them retargeted by the landing page you send them through on that link. That's a really good way to do that. So Cheryl, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm going to a podcasting seminar soon, and we're to give a pitch, which to me is like a landing page sort of a thing, right? So we have to give a pitch, but it's going to be one shot to 30 or 40 different podcasters, the entire audience, and all the people that are listening in through webinar, et cetera.
Okay. So in that,
and was to have a call to action.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, how do you do a call to action at the end of a pitch on a podcast?
Well,
I guess it would be similar.
It's the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're on a podcast or written content, or you might even be on stage. You might be on stage and delivering content. So at the end, you're really just telling them what to do to connect with you more. And
so at the event, they're going to have all these envelopes, right? So and then everybody has cards that they can just write, "I'd like to talk to you," and put in your envelope, right? With your picture on it and so on, which is nice. But for all the people outside of the event itself, because I'm now hearing there's hundreds, maybe thousands of people listening in through webinar, et cetera, that wouldn't work. So my original call to action was, if you would like to hear more about blah, 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 drop a note in my envelope. I think, okay, well, there's all these other people. Yeah. And I don't know if we're allowed to give, would people actually, would you say your phone number or my website? But then again, I don't really have a website yet. So
yeah. Well, I'll tell you as far as a strategy, what you really want to do is you want to get their contact information.
But I have that as far as the podcasters go, because they're all listed in the website and in our materials that we're getting. Okay. The audience, I wouldn't have that, right? So yes, I would want to get their contact information by them putting a note in my envelope. But that's not going to work for all the people outside the event. Yeah.
So in a podcast, basically, what you want to do, if you're creating the podcast, at the end of the podcast, you want to make an offer, even if it's a free offer. And, you might be talking about something in the podcast, like an infographic.
Let me just clarify. This is not a podcast. This is an event to link people who want to be on podcast with people who have podcasts.
Okay, gotcha.
It's a seminar that I'd be standing up in the middle of the room of 200 people plus, a bunch of podcasters, and giving my pitch. And it's 30-second pitch.
Okay, perfect. So,
and I have to hook them and get them interested in me.
Gotcha. Okay, so if you have 30 seconds, this is going to be easy, because I just did this at Craig's Mastermind. There was like 3 people that got 30-second pitches, and they all came to me to figure out what to do. And my answer was the same in every case. It's like, you want to get everyone in the room on your mailing list. So what you've got to do is you've got to give them enough value to get them interested in what you have, and then offer them a free thing. And, you know, to get the rest of the information. Like maybe you've got a free report, or maybe you've got a free resource guide, something that they would be interested in, and they would literally have to have. It's like if they leave the room, they're going to kick themselves if they didn't get this thing.
Okay, so
and
my message has to do with relationships, and I'm not really sure what kind of free offer, you know. I mean, it's not like a product or a, you know, it's more like coaching or something. Well, you know, like I would say something like, how would your audience like to have a simple solution to keeping their X's and O's from becoming X's and O's? Just imagine a relationship where you felt completely loved, you know, fighting stopped, and you got your needs met with an unreserved yes. How excited would you be to come home to that kind of loving relationship every day, year after year? So with only 3 practices, my solution can empower your audience to take charge and build relationships that they really love, so they can confidently hold on to and keep that new relationship sizzle. And here's the thing, I'm Cheryl Herbst, and if you'd like to know more about Safe Love, then what?
Okay, yeah, then
what?
You said you didn't have a website up yet, so you can't.
Well, I bought a website on WordPress and through Bluehost, and I had Steve Olsher's podcasting group put up a template on my website, but I haven't finished it, you know, because it's supposed to be used for doing podcasting, and I'm not doing that yet. So the template's there without anything else.
Okay, so you have an autoresponder.
Say that again.
Do you have an autoresponder?
No, I don't have anything yet because I don't know anything about all this. I'm just starting out. I just gave up my old career and I'm transitioning to a new career, and you know, so I'm just kind of starting out. Okay. But the only thing I've gotten down so far is the message in my book done, and that's as far as I've got. Now it's time to go to visibility. Okay.
Well, in a room, like you've got people in a room, if you don't have any automated way to collect their information, it could be just as easy as, you know, hey, I'm going to be in the back at this table, come and drop your card off, and I will send you the, you know, an ebook, or I'll send you the 10-point checklist to make sure that this happens in your life.
So like a checklist, or?
Yeah, you've got to have something to offer them, even if it's a simple checklist, or, you know, it might just be, you know, a couple of paragraphs and you turn it into an ebook. You know, but whatever it is you're talking about, you're going to create demand and desire. They're going to want it, and you're going to give it to them for free. All they have to do is drop their card off at the desk in the back, and you will send it to the email address on the thing. You know, an automated way to do that. Yeah, an automated way to do that would be to set up a landing page on a website with your autoresponder where they could go and they could opt in. And then it would automatically deliver that to it. And it would be a much smoother process for you. So you want to work on that. You want to move toward that sort of a system. So then you can say, you know, go to xyz.com, put your name and email address in, and you'll instantly receive the 10-point checklist or the whatever ebook, or, you know, whatever it is that you've got to offer them. That's really where you want to strive to be. And now you've got them in your marketing funnel, and your autoresponder can automatically follow up with them over the next 7 days or 10 days. Or, you know, maybe you want to lead them into a webinar where you've got them for an hour, and you can really, you know, educate them. You can really get your message to sink in and build trust and rapport, and then make an offer on the end of the webinar. So, you know, you probably have something put together that you're thinking about selling them. And basically you're creating a bridge to take them from, you know, the introduction to, hi, I'm Cheryl, here's what I've got, here's what it does for you, here's what I'd like you to do next. and then you lead them through that education process. Along the way, you're eliminating their objections, whatever those may be. And
This is after they connect with me, right?
yeah, because
Within
right
a
now
few
you got
seconds. I don't have any more time than that to say
Yeah,
3
yeah, no. Right now you got 30 seconds to make the connection and get them into your phone.
to hook them, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
so
they have to put something in my envelope, right?
Yeah, so your hook is, I've got this free thing. I would love for you to have it because here's what it's going to do for you. And, here's what I want you to do is drop your card on the back table and I'll get this out to you as soon as possible.
Okay.
And, that's your 30-second thing. But now you deliver it, you send them an email with this thing, whatever it is, and then you invite them to the webinar where you get, to spend a half hour or hour with them. And that's where you can do all that stuff I just talked about.
Right.
And then, you make your offer on the end of that. And if you truly have seduced their heart, by, offering them what they truly want, their desired outcome, and you've convinced the head by eliminating all the objections, when you make the offer, there should be nothing in the way of them making the purchase. You should get a really high conversion, because the only thing, if you've seduced their heart, the only thing that's going to the only thing standing in the way of you in a sale at that point is an objection.
Right.
And that's based on a belief. So that's why in your process and analysis of building the avatar, that's why it's so important to understand the beliefs of them, understand their emotions, what they're seeing, hearing, feeling, and not only, from their self, but from what they're hearing from others. A lot of times we have a lot of social pressure, and we look at social proof as we don't want to be the only one doing something. We want to know someone else is doing it, and we're not the first one. So, that's some stuff to definitely think about. But if you understand their objections, you really get into that empathy of them, and you understand why they might not do it. And keep in mind, you seduce the heart. The heart is what wants things. The heart is where the desire lives. That's where the emotions live.
Right.
So when you talk about the desired outcome, you're really connecting with the heart. And that's the subconscious level. Now the conscious mind steps in, and the job of the conscious mind is to protect the heart. It naturally wants to protect the heart. It does not want the heart to be broken, because it knows the pain and suffering that goes along with that. So it naturally kicks in, and it wants to protect the heart. So now, when I say seduce the heart and convince the head, that's what you're doing. You're convincing the head the heart is safe. It's not going to get hurt.
Right.
Because there's all kinds, and the whole thing behind that is beliefs. Whatever they believe, and it might be a belief based on something that's already happened. Maybe they bought the same thing before and it didn't work. They were let down. The heart got broken.
Yeah.
So the head is only trying to prevent that from happening again.
Right.
So that's where unique mechanism comes in. When you have a unique mechanism, that's the thing that tells the head, hey, this is why it didn't work before, and this is why it's got a much better chance of working now, because this thing is going to be the thing that does the work and delivers the result.
Right.
So that's, this is really, really powerful stuff. If you've got problems with conversion, this is the stuff that will fix that. This is the answer to the conversion problem. Because like I said, the only thing that stands between you and a sale or you and a conversion, whatever that conversion is, whether it's asking for an opt-in on an email or asking for a sale, asking for a share, whatever it is, the only thing that stands between you and getting what you want on that, on that sale, whatever it is going to be an objection.
Right.
Why would they not share it? Why would they, maybe it's a competitor. Maybe the reason that they don't want to share it is because you're a competitor and they don't want to just send their people to you. So if you understand that, that's their objection, that's their belief, they're going to lose. And, that's going to, that's a limited mindset, but that's what they're feeling. So that's true for them. So the way you could address that is by saying, hey, I have a free affiliate program. If you share this, you'll actually get paid. you know, that could very easily overcome that objection. Then
Yeah.
they'd share you all day long and, you know, twice on Sunday. So it's really important to you know, to understand that stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's worth the effort. You know, truly getting an understanding of your avatar. A lot of people that got into ACT, their biggest complaint was how much work it is. You know, and it is a little bit of work, but it's so worth it. It's like the difference between do you want this to work or not?
Yeah.
Do you want to continue to spin your wheels and not get anywhere? How much work is that? You know, I didn't say it was going to be fun. It's going to be fun though when you get it right.
It may not be fun, but it's going to get results.
Yeah, exactly.
The results you want or fun? What's the higher value here?
Exactly. You know, this country was built on hard work, and you know, this is no different. You do it right though, you know, you get it right up front, and then you reap the rewards and you get the benefits forever.
Yeah.
You know, truly, when you change your thinking on all this stuff and you actually get it, it's not that hard. There's nothing about any of this that's difficult, or you know, you don't have to be like super smart or anything. You just have to follow the instructions, and you know, it all comes down to really human nature. We've all been communicating since we were born. You know, we cry and you know, you get attention. You know, that's our first experience. You know, when you cry and they don't pay attention to you, you go, oh, well, that didn't work. What am I going to do now? You know, and it's the same thing. It's just understanding human communication and what is going to get the result. And really, it's based on who you're communicating with. You know, if your mom is a nurturer and you cry, you got it figured out. She's going to pick you up and coddle you, and that's it. You know, you cry for your dad, and and that makes him mad. You know, guess what? You better refigure that communication there, or you're going to have bad result.
Yeah.
So it really is. It's just basic human communication. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out who we're communicating and what's going to move them. So it's really, really powerful stuff too, even though it really is simple in its basic format. And it's so funny. It streams right through organic SEO, because that's what Google wants you to do. They want people that communicate. They want people that get good results. So
Hey, John.
the better you figure this stuff out, the better you'll be all the way through. Yeah, go ahead, Louis.
I lose the connection, and I don't know if you have time to answer the question I typed in the chat.
Okay,
related to SEO.
Okay, the big changes Google is doing. Let's see, last core algorithm change. Oh, about the mobile first index. Yeah, I have seen a lot of difference in that. In SEMrush, this is a really cool thing. If you want to test your site, go into SEMrush, and they have two buttons now. They've got a desktop button and they've got a mobile button. And on the desktop button, what you'll see is you'll see all of your search results that are on desktop. And then if you switch to the mobile button, you'll see all the keywords that you rank for on mobile. Now, in a lot of the customers I've put in there, there's a big difference. Like they might rank for 1,000 keywords on desktop, but they only rank for 100 on mobile. So I haven't really got a solution for that yet. The only thing I can think is the mobile device. When you get a mobile user, they do truly get a different user experience than the desktop user. Especially, you know, if your site reformats, if you've got a site that is responsive and it reformats and it actually becomes a different format, that format can easily be a poor user experience if it's not you know, attended to properly. And a lot of times you'll get a site like WordPress has a lot of responsive site templates now, you still have to go in and make edits and tweaks to those, to those templates. So if your mobile site is not giving a good user experience, they're saying now in this algorithm, and I don't know that this is true. Google says a lot of stuff that's not really true. And the reason for it is they're trying to control. They're trying to control the environment. They're trying to control what you do and, in relationship to optimizing your site, because they want to keep everything, in their control. So they say a lot of stuff that isn't really actual fact. It's what they want you to know. That's what they want you to believe. So you'll act a certain way. But ultimately, what they really truly want is they want a good user experience, and they don't want you to ignore the mobile devices. Mobile has become huge. There's a lot of mobile traffic out there. I think it's probably even exceeded desktop usage now, because everybody, when you're not at your desk, think about the hours that you're typically at your desk versus the hours, that you're walking around with your mobile device. You're always on it. You're always using it. So that's probably going to make a big difference. So, all right, guys, we're at the end of our session here for today. Thank you guys for showing up and asking great questions and providing good content for the call. So we'll see you guys next week. Oh, and happy Easter, because that's coming up next.